All right, what is going on, everyone? We're back for another Shonen Jump stream. Finally, I know it's been a hot minute, but finally we can talk about One Piece. I'm caught back up on Kagurabachi, so we can cover some Kagurabachi. Unfortunately, this does have to be a shorter stream today. We'll probably keep it to like an hour. I would like to do longer streams on Sundays, closer to like 2 hours, but obviously we'll kind of play that one by ear. But yeah, we'll give everyone a few minutes and then we'll get started with some One Piece. To everyone in the chat, how we doing today? Hope everyone's having a good Sunday so far. If you're a football fan like me, hopefully hopefully your team gets blessed today. I'm a Pats fan, so obviously my hopes aren't very high for the Patriots, but you know, we still support. And while we are waiting for everyone to hop in, I'm just going to go ahead and share this on Twitter. And as always, make sure to like the stream to help spread the stream to other viewers and to let me know that you're enjoying everything. All right, and with that, we are all set. And we got Justin in the chat. What's going on, Justin? Hope you're doing good today. Justin, I forget. Did you say you're a football fan? I can't remember. We were talking about football a second ago, and you know, I always support the Patriots in every way I can, but I don't exactly get my hopes up. But like I said, we'll give everyone another minute or two, and then we'll get started. What team are you a fan of? Like, who's your team? Obviously, I'm a Pats fan. So we'll give everyone another minute before we get started. Unfortunately, I'm a few chapters behind on Ichi the Witch. I've only read the first few chapters, so I'm like 7 or 8 chapters behind as of today. So for anyone who's caught up on Ichi the Witch, let me ask you this. What is your opinion of the manga so far? Because it's 10 chapters in now, which, I mean, that's roughly one volume. So in a few weeks, most likely, they'll come out with that first. Well, no, scratch that. Sometime early next year, they'll come out with the first English volume for Ichi the Witch. So, I mean, it's at that time, like, it's got a volume out, roughly, where we can kind of judge where it's at, like, if it's for us or not, so to speak. Just on those first few chapters, I really liked Ichi the Witch, but again, I'm not caught up to chapter 10. You're a Bears fan, and I don't think... Oh, that's right, you told me, because I remember I was like, the Patriots aren't too far off from the Bears. I don't know, man. The same way you feel that way about the Bears, I feel the same way about the Patriots. You know, They have zero offense. I mean, zero. Their receivers are okay. Their quarterbacks are good. But the O-line sucks. And there's like no coaching. It's just non-existent. All right, well, it's been a few minutes, so we'll go ahead and get started with One Piece. So I saw the scan. I have not read the official translation yet. So obviously, anyone who hasn't read the chapter yet, you might want to come back to this later. But we are on chapter 1131, Loki in the Underworld. They have so many injuries on the O-line. I feel like I need to sign up for the offensive line. That's so many teams. Oh, God. Remind me if we have free time at the end of the stream. I'll give you my rant on why I hate the NFL right now. So they call it, they call it the Underworld in Elbaf, but the Underworld, quote unquote, seems to be the land of the trolls, which is where Loki came from. So it's nice because we have all these references to Nordic mythology, but like they're not like so on the nose. It's like they're there, but like they're odified, right? Finally caught you live. How is everyone doing? We're doing good. I would ask you how you're doing, but you're non-existent, so I don't even know how I can ask you that. But hello, thanks for catching the stream. Shanks told Luffy not to fight over insults in chapter 1. Luffy goes off on the Loki for insulting Shanks. L moment. Yeah, it does feel... So, that's a good point. It's very in character for Luffy, but there's a strong argument that it feels somewhat contradictory to the growth he's had, or at the very least, the handful of experiences where he has suffered as a result of not learning this lesson. So if we think about it, right? So there's chapter 1 where he gets caught by the mountain bandits because he feels like he has to stand up for Shanks. That results in Shanks losing his arm. There's the incident with Marineford where he watches Ace die because, you know, Akainu, he triggers, so to speak, Ace into fighting him, right? So that's a lesson for Luffy. Like, hey, you know, you got to have a level head. There's also, so it's weird, right? Because then you also have Jaya, where, you know, they were getting taunted and Luffy had no problem, you know, standing there taking the blows, right? So it is this contrast of like, you know, if you make fun of me, I don't care. But if you make fun of my friends, that's different. But even then, like, he watched Ace die because he had to protect Whitebeard. So you would think he has sort of learned better by now. But again, it's also very in character. So I could see how you don't like this chapter for that reason, but at the same time, I don't think it ruins anything, but it does feel a bit forced, so to speak. But we see Luffy He finds out that this is Elbaf. And then, of course, Loki is trying to, you know, play his mind games. And Luffy just keeps talking and talking and talking. And he can't get a word in. The most powerful nation in the world lived and breathed warfare. Wow, that's wild. When I was on Dory and Brogy's ship, I'd never seen so many giants at once. It was really overwhelming. So Loki says, I am the sun god enshrined in the legends of this land. You will not speak without my permission, human. So they call Loki the accursed prince, and they say he has a bounty of 2.6 billion. So if I'm not mistaken, that places him just under Luffy. Because what's Luffy's right now? Is it 3 billion? Is it 5 billion? I'm pretty sure he's still in the single digits as far as the billions. So, of course, now that he has Luffy, he's trying to trick him, as the trickster god he is, into releasing him. So he says, what do you think of this situation? And Luffy's like, well, you're chained up. And, of course, Loki tries to make Luffy feel smart. He says, yes, you're right. I am chained up. How very observant of you. How very smart of you. So he says that he's been chained up for 6 years, which time-wise would mean he has been chained up since before the time skip. So he's been here for a hot minute. I consider myself the strongest in all of Elbaf, but this tree, the jewel tree Adam, which, if you recall, I'm pretty sure is the tree that they used to build Roger's ship and then also the Sunny. He's tied up in Sea Prism. He says, I have a question for you, Rhodey. And he's like, no, it's Luffy. And then he tries to make a deal. He says, if you unchain me, I'll completely eliminate one rival pirate crew of your choosing. What do you say? The key should be somewhere in the village. Important to remember. And he says, I didn't mention this is the lowest plane of Elbaf, the underworld, a place that no one dares venture into. So it's interesting that we're getting this sort of setup again, kind of like the Nordic world, where, you know, everything's based on the world tree Yggdrasil. Like you have Valhalla at the top, or Asgard at the top, and then you have, I forget what the troll world is, but basically what they're calling the underworld. So it seems like it's at the bottom. And you can even see when they show the world tree or the jewel tree, there's even a rainbow, right? Very reminiscent of the Rainbow Bridge in Nordic mythology. But this is the place where no one dares venture into. Criminals dropped here. It's a prison and an execution yard. These mountains have existed for tens of thousands of years. In our mythology, we call this the First World. You'd best be wary of the wild beasts. Sentinels, they've all been fast friends of mine. And then, of course, Luffy says this reminds him of the time skip training. So then, of course, they mention Shanks, and Luffy's like, oh, wait, Shanks. I know Shanks. Are you talking about Shanks? I like Shanks. Hello. How are you doing? Harshit Aditya. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. I don't think Luffy currently is trying to emulate Shanks like he did pre-time skip. Luffy more than ever is his own pirate. It's not so much that he's trying to emulate Shanks, but, you know, Luffy is very much about his people. And if you mess with his people, he's like, all right, cool. You're starting shit. Let's go. And there's an issue of like, there's been multiple occasions where that gets him into trouble. So you would think he's sort of learned his lesson by now to be a little more level-headed, I think is the criticism. So he says, do you know Shanks? And then Loki's like, okay, I see what I can do here. Because first he tried to make Luffy feel smart. That didn't work. Then he tried to intimidate him, and he just made friends with the wild beasts. What's going on, Eddie? How you doing? Pleasure to have you. Glad to have you in chat. I pronounced your name correctly? All right, good. Thank you. If you mean that coward of a pirate. So all he did is call Shanks a pirate. He didn't make fun of his crew. He didn't say he's like a bad pirate necessarily. He didn't like go on this tangent. He calls him a coward of a pirate. And Luffy instantly goes Gear Forth Bounce Man, right? Instantly tries to punch Loki in the face. Loki says, I'm helpless, can't defend myself. The instant I get these chains off, I'm going to kill him. So Luffy cools down. He gets it. He says, so why was Shanks here? Why did he come to see you? That couldn't have been why he was here. Is he still in Elbaf? So Loki says, well, I can tell you, but it's not going to come cheap. So then we cut back to our Straw Hat crew on Elbaf, the Nami crew. They're on the bridge. They're running away from Road, I believe his name is. They're trying to get away from him. And behind Road are Gerd and Goldberg, the other new giant pirates. And Goldberg seems to be carrying the Sunny. They said the finish line is ahead of them, so they're getting close to the other end of the bridge, which seems to be taking them. So if you look, that castle they were on appears to be in the lower realm that Luffy is now in. So they're going to the middle realm, which I'll have to update my Nordic mythology, but would be whatever is below Asgard. 6 years got Yonko rank start career Shanks. So they're running. They're going to the Elbaf village. So again, they're going up to the next level. And then we cut to Hyrodine and Staunson, who is the shipwright for the crew. And they also appear to be on the underworld level. I found this funny. They put, pardon me, 1 second. Excuse me. So Oda puts a panel, a Hyrodine refresher, which is not the first time he's done this, but I feel like, you know, like, why are you doing this for Hyrodine? I don't know. It's weird. It's one thing for the anime, but for the manga. It's like, especially if you're someone reading this, you know, a year from now, and you're binging the manga, it's like you probably read that like a couple days ago. Like, do you really need the refresher? I don't know. It's whining, but I just find it to be weird. Also, they said they caught a moose, and this moose looks like a dinosaur. So clearly Elbaf is going to have, as we've already seen, has some pretty wonky monsters. So they say, how are they going to carry the moose? And Staunton says, we can't use a painter. Those sunstones don't work when it's snowing. So they seem to have some kind of Elbaf specific technology or infrastructure. I'm curious to see what that looks like. And then, of course, we get a spread of the new giant pirates, with Hyrudine being the captain, Goldberg is the cook, Gerd is the doctor, Staunton is the shipwright, and Rodo is the navigator. So then we cut back to Dory and Brogy's ship, where evidently Robin has requested that Brooke give her a haircut. So this is the only character, to my knowledge, that has seemingly just gone back to their pre-time skip look. Now, immediately, Sun and Moon, is that what that says? Now, immediately, I loved this. I knew exactly what Oda was doing. I was like, oh, I get it. Robin is doing this. Because it was so funny because we got the Robin scene and I was like, oh, I wonder when we're going to meet Saul. And then they're like, oh, this is for Saul because she's looking forward to meeting Saul. So I thought this was a really cute moment. And I think Oda like nails the delivery, the execution. And it was so funny because they're setting it up to be this like super wholesome reunion. And as soon as they did that, I was like, you know, it's like awfully convenient that Saul is back in the story. I wonder if something happened to him. And then, of course, as soon as I thought that, I went to the next page where, of course, we cut to Elbaf, huff, huff, big trouble. It's Dr. Saul. He's fallen. And it's so funny, too. And I think, who is the translator? I don't know the translator for One Piece. Stephen or Stephen Paul. I'm going to guess Stephen. Might be Stephen. But Mr. Paul, I feel like he did this on purpose. He's fallen and he won't get up. I feel like that has to be a deliberate reference to that all too classic commercial of I've fallen and I can't get up. And to be honest, I'm surprised no one has made a meme out of this yet. Maybe in the next chapter when we see what happened to Saul, but I really hope somebody makes a meme of Saul calling the what is it, the alert line, the button. I really hope somebody makes a meme of that commercial and they just paste Saul into it. And he's on the floor and he's just like, I've fallen and I can't get up. Too easy. I feel like this arc only for Usopp instead get 2 more Robin and Luffy. I'm surprised. Yeah. There's a lot. This arc has a lot of potential to really be the best arc post Whole Cake Island, because we had a lot of Straw Hat moments in Wano, but like that wasn't a strong Straw Hat arc. Then you have Egghead, which a lot of people felt at the time, and maybe even now, that that was an improvement from Wano. And now we have Elbaf, which is already setting up to be even better than Egghead. It's got a great start to it, not unlike Act 1 of Wano. And there's already been a lot of great Straw Hat moments, like, you know, Frankie crying for Robin. And it's got even more potential for Straw Hat moments. So, rightfully so, I think this could be the best arc of One Piece we've seen in like 10 years. But again, it's very early. And obviously everyone said that about Wano in Act 1. And then of course Act 2 happened. So the last thing I will say before we move on to Kagurabachi is Loki could easily and will most likely end up coming out of this arc as like the most iconic character of this arc if he's done well. And I say that because there were so many characters in Wano that were set up in such a way where everyone was like, oh my god, this is going to be one of the best characters in One Piece ever, of all time. And then by the end of Wano, people were just like, eh. Like you have Kiku, right? Kiku, great character. But is Kiku an all-time best One Piece character? Of course not. She's definitely up there, but she's not like, you know, whatever, top 20, right? Excuse me. A lot of people felt that way about Odin, right? When people met Odin early on, people were like, oh, this is going to be like a top 20 One Piece character, top 10 One Piece character. And then by the end of Wano, people were like, yeah, you know, he's good. Wouldn't exactly put him in my top 20. And there's other characters like that, right? So my point is, with Loki, he has a really strong start, and I would argue he has one of the best introductions out of any single One Piece character. But with all of this potential, that's even a stronger indication of how good he will be is really up to Oda. Because so many times in One Piece we've seen Oda has all the build-up, all the hype in the world, all the potential in the world, and then he kind of just is like, oh yeah, this character is still a thing. So I have high hopes for Loki, but I'm also not going to place unrealistic expectations on that character. Wano got too much fighting and side characters, unfortunately, especially 2 samurai got killed off. Feels rushed, like not caring. Yeah. I won't spoil what I have in the pipeline for this month, but all I will say is I don't want to spoil a future video. But I do sort of agree with what you're saying. Which, to get back to Elbaf and a transition into Kagurabachi, that is why I feel like Elbaf has the potential to be an overall better arc, because it doesn't have all of this build up that it needs to execute. Like, this is sort of a happy medium between Egghead and Wano, where we have been expecting this for a while, and there are a decent amount of expectations going into this arc, but unlike Wano, it hasn't dominated the entire second half of the story to where we have like a laundry list of expectations. So it's more like Egghead in the sense that we can kind of go into this arc with our headcanon and our theories, but Oda kind of has an open book as far as what he wants to do with this arc. He's not really wed to any particular build-up. But on that note, I've been yapping about One Piece for roughly half an hour. At this point, I think it's about time we read some Kagurabachi. I did want to read Akane Banashi, but I'm roughly 30 chapters behind on that. So in my free time, I'm going to catch up to more of these Jump manga. I also we'll try and fit in Hunter x Hunter next week too. But next week, as of now, I don't have anything planned that would take up my time, so we'll try and do a much longer stream next Sunday. But for now, we'll read some Kagurabachi. Again, if you are not caught up on Kagurabachi, this might not be the time to get spoiled. All right, so we are going to read Kagurabachi chapter 57. So to recall in the last chapter, and of course, I'm still bad with the Kagurabachi names. Samura, Mr. Samura, the blind guy, he just messed everybody off. As next hit off course, I'm not sure what you mean. He just messed everybody up with his sword attack. So then, let's go. I'll read it with you. Awesome, sweet. I don't know how I can read it with you when you're non-existent, but I'll try my best. So Mr. Samura, Mr. Blind Man, he just messed everybody up with his big sword attack with the crow feathers. So now we cut back to Chihiro, and I literally just read these chapters and I can't even remember these characters' names. I need to pay somebody to program a Google Chrome extension where whenever I'm reading manga, it gives me like a little scouter notification of like the characters' names. Anyway, so we cut to the aftermath. He just murked everybody. Everyone's like, what the hell just happened? They're like looking at the bodies and they're like, it's impossible that he just killed that many people at once. So one of his bodyguards says that's Toby Mune, obviously his sword. So they're looking for his Shoku, right? Is that how you say their name? The bad guys. They're looking for the tree guy. A master's wielding of an enchanted blade. It was so fast I couldn't even see it. This will rile up the playing field. I wonder if I'm in trouble now. And then he sort of poofs away. Which, something to note is he does not seem terribly concerned that they just got murked. And on that note, we got Pokesel in the stream. What's going on? We got Pokesel, the Lord of Bleach, the Guinness World Record for binging Bleach in one sitting, the champion of Raruka, the betrothed of Raruka, you know, been engaged for 7+ years, patiently waiting for his betrothed, his beloved. He had probably the best Saturday of his life yesterday. Quite possibly episode of the year. So I thought it was interesting that this Hishoku character was like, hoo-hoo, he did a little fancy thing there. He killed all of my guys. That's sort of fun. Hoo-hoo. He does not seem terribly troubled by this at all. So my suspicion is that they have something else planned. So Pokesel says, I've been slacking. I haven't reread Bleach in a week. That I think Pokesel has probably binged Bleach 70+ times. And I'm not even exaggerating. And yet, we need more Bleach videos. Pokesel, I want weekly Bleach videos. Where you at, man? I'm just kidding. Obviously, you got stuff going on, but that would be cool. So I was right, Samura. Mr. Samura, sorry you had to save us. You're hallucinating. Blah, blah, blah. You need treatment. The Hishaku, not the Hishoku. The Hishaku force is depleted. So Mr. Samura is saying, is everyone all right? And one of the bodyguards died. He was 22 years old. He had a younger sister. So Mr. Samura, blah, blah, blah. He didn't die in vain. He fought valiantly to protect the contracted sword bearers. This is a major turning point. Mr. Samura says, no, unfortunately, this is just the start. So something to note about Mr. Samura. And this ties into the end of the chapter. He really does not like being a sword bearer. He really hates that, like, basically everyone around him dies, and he's constantly killing people. And then we get the title drop, chapter 57, Collapse. And then we get Mr. Snowy Hair, Mr. Red Eyes, Mr. Origami. I can't remember his name. He says, we failed. They got the Tobi Mune. So he thinks to himself, well, that changes the path, but the destination remains the same. So again, none of these Hishaku characters seem terribly worried about the fact that they just got their butts kicked. So I'm kind of concerned about what they have up next. He says, we'll kill the Swordmaster and Yura will wield the Shinuchi. So then this character goes on this lecture about what they teach in school, about the sword bearers being heroes. The sword master led the other sword bearers in protecting the people with the great power of the enchanted blades, and their wonderful achievements led to peace in this country. So then, honestly, when I saw just the tip of the Shinuchi's power for the first time, I was overcome with doubts. The power of the heroes who saved the country. Was that power really about saving people? I thought the reason they keep the Swordmaster under ironclad security, blah, blah, blah. Was that the Shinuchi's powers were too terrible and they had to be contained. But when Kyura wielded it, I felt someone else inside of him. What if the Shinuchi isn't what was out of control, but the Swordmaster? And what Father was trying to hide was something more crucial. So there seems to be a conspiracy, so to speak, that really it's not the enchanted blades that are the problem. It's the people who were assigned to them, and particularly the master, the sword master, so the leader of the sword bearers, which in fact we really know nothing about. And then of course now we have this suspicion that Mr. Samura in fact wants all of the sword bearers to die, which would be consistent because he himself is not really trying to survive. He didn't really try to protect the other one so much, but he really fought to protect everyone else. So it would be in character if he had this conspiracy to kill the sword bearers while saving everyone else. So then the sword drops out. Mr. Origami Man bites his cut off arm and throws it at Chihiro. And then he grabs the Kumeyuri sword with his teeth, pulls a Zoro, and sends what appears to be this like geisha attack at him. And then we get a quick little flashback to what the other sword bearer said to Chihiro about like not holding back and like, you know, you gotta kind of just let loose if you're gonna fight. And then we cut to a panel of Chihiro where he seems a bit phased, so to speak. He seems trapped, stressed, right? Which, to be fair, he even said, he's like, today has been a day. I have had so much thrown at me mentally, physically. So, our boy Chihiro is struggling, so to speak. But in any event, I'm curious to see what happens in the next chapter as far as what happens with the sword bearers, what happens with this fight with Chihiro, and especially if we get any leads on the sword master and what the Hishaku have planned next. Because clearly they don't seem stressed by this recent loss at all. They're like, big deal. Excuse me. But on that note, as much as I would love to read Akane Banashi or Ichi the Witch, I am behind on those manga, so we'll save those for next time. I think what we'll do next time is One Piece is scheduled for next week, so we can read One Piece. Kagurabachi also scheduled, so we'll read One Piece, Kagurabachi. I'll try to be caught up for Akane Banashi. I will definitely be caught up for Ichi the Witch. So we'll make that a 2-hour stream next Sunday. But as far as the next streams, I don't know what we'll do Thursday. That might be a Dawn to Dawn stream, or we might make it a Bleach stream. We'll see. Oh, thank you, Justin. I'll end the stream with my football rant for all of you fellow NFL fans. Tuesday will definitely be a Chainsaw Man stream for sure. We might sneak a Dawn to Dawn review in there, depending on the chapter. But with the build up to last week's chapter, or from what last week's chapter, we definitely have to do a live reaction to this week's. Although, is it scheduled for this week, or are they taking a break? Chainsaw Man. Oh yeah. Okay. We're definitely getting a chapter. All right. So as per Justin's request, I will share my rant on the NFL. So I'm getting non-existent support from the ether for future streams. So non-existent. I appreciate that. Yeah. I apologize for the break I sort of took from streams. I hate that I always have to do that, but it happens. On that note, for all of you folks that want to keep these streams going, make sure to support the streams in every way you can. Make sure to like the stream so that I know you're having a good time. If you can, make sure to fund these streams with super chats or super thanks. Even something as small as $1 goes a huge way. Not only does it help me to keep these streams going, but every cent will go to editors. And, editors are struggling just as much as me. So if you want to help support the careers of these editors who help make these lovely videos, even something as small as $1 is a huge help. But on that note, I'll give my quick little NFL rant before I close out the stream. If anyone has any manga, anime questions, I'll answer those too. But my quick, let me get a sip of water before I get salty here. So, I was telling Justin at the beginning of the stream that everyone is like getting injured. It seems like it's happening all the time. So for anyone that watches football on a regular basis, this might be a hot take, but I am of the opinion, first of all, that this is the worst year of the NFL we've had in the last few years. I mean, terrible. Heavenly Star just subscribed. Thank you, Heavenly Star. Glad to have you aboard. What I was saying was, it's a terrible season for the NFL. Excuse me. I mean, everyone's getting injured. All the teams kind of suck, to be honest. Like, the Lions are good. There's a couple other teams are good, right? Like, I think the Packers are pretty good right now. But I mean, like, even the Chiefs suck. They are like they're not even that good of a team. And I know I probably sound like a hater, but like compared to like, the dynasty era of the Patriots like 10 years ago, they don't even come close. Not even close. I think what's his name is an elite quarterback, but he is slightly overrated. And I think Travis Kelce sucks this year. Aside from that, the refs are clearly scripted, paid off, whatever. And the games are just boring. So I think it's kind of a terrible time to be a football fan. I feel like it just gets worse and worse every year. And they really need to change something up. They got to cut back on these refs. Let's not forget Tom Brady beat Mahomes twice. Thank you, Justin. Facts. I will stand Tom Brady as much. Well, let me correct myself. I'm not a Tom Brady stan per se. I do think he's kind of a weirdo, but I will always push the agenda that Tom Brady is unparalleled as the greatest quarterback of all time. I'll close my NFL rant and then I'll answer the non-existent Hunter x Hunter question. What the hell was I saying? Oh, yeah, they got to chill with the penalties. I mean, in that Jets game, even the Jets were like, Aaron Rodgers literally got sacked. And even he was like, yeah, that's not roughing the passer. What are you smoking? So yeah, I think the NFL just keeps getting worse and worse every season. I didn't like the NFL 2 years ago. The season last year I thought was boring. And I think this season sucks. Who knows? Maybe the playoffs will be a complete 180. But right now I'm like so And this is also because I'm a Patriots fan and I don't really have a team to support as much as I would like to. But I just think the season of the NFL is terrible. Excuse me. So I'll answer the non-existent Hunter x Hunter question, and then we'll wrap things up. Am I reading Hunter x Hunter? Togashi is Togashi-ing for real. That's a new verb. I just got spoiled for the next chapter, and I'm so hyped. I'm one chapter behind. I did read the chapters prior. I haven't read the newest chapter. I heard it's supposed to be really good. Like, everyone keeps saying the same thing. They're like, Togashi is on another level. So I'll probably read that sometime this weekend in the next couple of days. But yeah, I'm not crazy. I'm not as crazy for this arc as everyone else. Like, everyone else is like, it's peak fiction. I'm like, yeah, it's good. It's great. But I do think, you know, it's all I'm going to say is I'm going to let Togashi cook before I really criticize anything. How do you think I feel? 2 weeks ago, I got my heart broken by the Commanders. Yeah, exactly. And are the Commanders even good this season? I don't know. To be fair, I'm lost because I am a Celtics fan, I'm a hockey fan, and I'm a football fan. So between college football, the NFL, the NHL, and the NBA, it's kind of hard to keep track of everything. Beyond Netero just keeps me on my toes, and I'm all for it. Yeah, that lore drop was crazy in the chapter before. So I'm curious to see what might have happened in this week's chapter. But on that note, we're getting close to an hour, so I'll start wrapping things up. Again, we are definitely going to stream Tuesday. I think the chapter comes out at like 11, so we'll probably stream at like 12 o'clock, something like that. We'll see. It depends. I will stream the chapter as close to the release as possible. So that'll be Tuesday. Tomorrow, if all goes according to plan, tomorrow I have, drumroll please, a Sakamoto Days video. So definitely look forward to that. They come out at 9. Okay, so we might even do that earlier. We might do that at like 10 o'clock. We'll see. Excuse me, damn, I'll be at work when you stream on Tuesday. Yeah, that's the thing, right? Is I want to do it when the chapter comes out. I might do it at lunch because that's when everyone's on break. Yeah, I've been meaning to do a Sakamoto Days video for a while. Unfortunately, I'm probably like a solid 70 chapters behind on Sakamoto Days, probably more. So for me to do more videos on it, also it's just kind of on the backlog right now. Like, people are reading it, but like no one's really looking for content on YouTube for it. Not as much as other manga. So but I think people will like this video. So that's tomorrow. Chainsaw Man stream Tuesday. Nothing Wednesday. We'll do some kind of stream Thursday night. Friday, I actually don't know. Friday is a video, and then Saturday is a video. Either Friday or Saturday will be a Bleach video, and then I actually don't know what the other video is, and that's kind of depressing. But on that note, thank you to everyone who joined in the stream. Remember, super chats, super thanks. They're always a huge help. But I want to thank everyone that showed up for today's stream. Pokesel, was good to see you. Non-existent, your non-existent presence was non-existently fun. Justin, always a pleasure to have you. Eddie, everybody else who I probably missed. On that note, thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Peace.